This how-to video explores an essential component of all analytical writing, the thesis statement. You're probably wondering, how do I get a thesis? Well, a thesis is the result of a lengthy thinking process. When your teacher gives you a prompt, your first move is not to formulate a thesis. Before you can develop an argument on any topic, you have to collect and organize evidence, look for possible relationships or patterns, and think about the significance of these relationships. Once you've done this critical thinking and pre-writing, then you're ready to draft your working thesis, which is a basic or main idea, an argument that you think you can support with evidence, but that may need some tweaking as you write your paper. An argumentative or persuasive piece of writing must have a debatable thesis or claim. In other words, the thesis must be something that people could reasonably have differing opinions on. If your thesis is something that is generally agreed upon or accepted as fact, then there's no reason to try to persuade people. For example, let's say you're asked to analyze Huckleberry Finn. You write, Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn is a great American novel. Why is this thesis weak? Well, first, it suggests you're going to summarize the novel rather than analyze an aspect of the work. You need to figure out why it's such a great novel. What do Huck's adventures tell us about life? About America? About coming of age? About race relations? Pick one aspect of the novel you think is important to its structure or meaning. For example, the role of storytelling, the contrasting scenes between the shore and the river, or of the relationships between adults and children. Now you write, in Huckleberry Finn, Mark Twain develops a contrast between life on the river and life on the shore. Now this working thesis has potential. You've highlighted one idea to investigate, but it needs to be narrowed. Remember, your argument will be supported by textual evidence. The broader your claim, the more evidence you'll need to gather to convince readers that your position is right. Let's say you find your evidence and you write, through its contrasting river and shore scenes, Twain's Huckleberry Finn suggests that to find the true expression of American democratic ideals, one must leave civilized society and go back to nature. Now, this final thesis statement presents an interpretation of a literary work based on an analysis of its content. This sets up an argument. By incorporating evidence from the text, the reader will be convinced. So how do I know if my thesis is strong? Well, it's always a good idea to consult with your teacher or visit the Center for Academic Writing. However, you can evaluate your thesis by asking yourself these questions. Do I answer the question? Rereading the prompt after you write your thesis can help you fix an argument that misses the focus of the question. Have I taken a position that others might challenge or oppose? If your thesis simply states facts that no one would argue with, it's possible you're providing a summary rather than a literary analysis. Is my thesis specific enough? Thesis statements that are too vague often do not have a strong argument. If your thesis contains words like good or successful, see if you can be more specific. Why is something good? And what specifically makes something successful? And lastly, does my thesis pass the so what test? If a reader's first response is, so what? Then you need to clarify or connect to a larger issue to help make your argument clear and engage your audience. This is a handy checklist for when you have a working thesis. So in summary, the thesis statement is usually a single sentence at the end of your introduction paragraph that presents your argument to the reader. The rest of the paper, the body of the essay, gathers and organizes evidence that will persuade the reader of the logic of your interpretation. But remember, just because a thesis statement comes at the beginning doesn't mean that's where you start. You'll want to start with your pre-writing and planning and gathering evidence so you know what kind of argument you need to make. For assistance with this or any stage of the writing process, see your teacher or visit the Center for Academic Writing.